Hello, my name's Dr. Gail Rees and I'm the Programme Lead for Nutrition, Exercise and Health. The programme is situated in the School of Biomedical Sciences at the University of Plymouth and it is accredited with the Association for Nutrition. So this logo on the top left hand corner is the logo of the Association for Nutrition, and it means that graduates from our programme can apply to be on the register for Associate Registered Nutritionists. So what I hope to do over the next 15 minutes is just to give you a little bit of information about our programme here at Plymouth, a little bit about the staff and support you could receive, about the teaching and facilities here in our school, a bit about the modules and the assessment on the programme, and a bit about the graduate opportunities, so some of the jobs that our students have gone on to do once they've completed the programme. But firstly, why study nutrition and exercise science? Well, students on the programme are interested in both diet and exercise and the influence this has on health, but importantly the science underpinning these changes. So what happens to metabolism when we change our diet or change our exercise? Students want to become registered nutritionists, which means that they can practice within a code of conduct in the UK and are fully registered practitioners. Also, students want to be able to change people's behaviour, so they want to be able to interact with people, and we have psychology modules throughout the programme that help us understand human behaviour and how we can get people to actually change their nutrition and exercise habits. So most people want a career working with other people, whether that's in the community generally or with people with issues like obesity, or working with athletes to try and change their nutrition patterns to help improve performance. So the programme looks at the science underpinning nutrition and exercise. So we try and train our graduates to be able to interpret the scientific underpinning and to be able to distinguish fact from fiction. So by the end of the 3 years here, you'd be very familiar with the scientific evidence, the literature surrounding different issues on health and disease, and be able to critically evaluate the science underpinning the issues. So on that note, the requirements for entry to the programme are science A-levels or equivalent. So we ask for A-level biology and one other science A-level or equivalent. So for students studying BTEC, this means that they should have a good science content of the BTEC, and this may include sports science, so have physiology surrounding sport, but we also ask that there is a good amount of other biology content too. Food science is also accepted as a second science along with biology, so something like food technology is also acceptable with the biology. So here's some pictures of some of our staff. We like to think we're a friendly and enthusiastic bunch. We are of a range of specialities, so if you came to Plymouth you would expect to be taught by specialists in the field. For example, we have here pictures of our immunologist, our biochemist and our exercise physiologist, and we also have Faisal on the right hand side. He's a respiratory physiologist who teaches some of our first year physiology, and then we have some of the nutritionists and dietetics staff who teach across the programme as well. So we are part of our Faculty of Health, which is a very wide faculty that covers medicine, dentistry and the allied health professions. So we have some close teaching with our dietetics colleagues as well. We do have an excellent selection of laboratories, and there is a link here on the slide that you can follow to do a virtual tour of some of our labs. So if you follow the link here, you should be able to see our nutrition, exercise and health laboratories. The other one to have a look at is the clinical physiology and human performance laboratory in Smeaton. Have a look at that. And then some of our first year classes are taken in Davy 209 and Davy 301. These are very large scale general biomedical laboratories, so please have a look and click on those links. If the link doesn't work for any reason, then just search for nutrition, exercise and health on the university web page, and there's a link to the lab tours from that page. So here you can see some of our laboratories, just a couple of pictures. As I said, it is a science-based program, so you can see students using microscopes, students in the exercise physiology lab, and students doing some food work here, some food science work in the blue coats there. So the teaching of the programme, obviously we have lectures, and you can see a large lecture theatre here on the slide, but it's also a very practical related subject. So you can see students again in the food lab in the middle there, also undertaking some measurements on body composition to the left at the top, some anatomy and physiology sessions. But as we go through the programme, students do quite a lot of their own learning as well, and investigations, and bring that back to class. So by the final year, we have some seminar-based modules where students share their learning with their peers in class. Student support at Plymouth. On the first day that students arrive in induction week, we allocate students to a personal tutor. So for the nutrition, exercise and health programme, we split you in two. We normally have about 20 students on the programme, and half would be in my tutor group here, and half would go to Dr. Kathy Redfern, who's the other registered nutritionist that takes a large role in the programme. So we see you on the first day, and then in the first year, most weeks you'd have a session with your tutor, a group session. So that's about 10 or 12 students together with your tutor. We take you through some important activities such as writing essays, delivering presentations, writing lab reports, but we're also there to discuss any other issues that you've got. We have individual tutor sessions as well, so if there's any personal issues, you can come and see your tutor to discuss those. All staff have weekly feedback sessions in their office, so these will be advertised to students, so you can pop in at that time to discuss any issues, or you can email for another session if that's convenient. We have something called peer assisted learning, PAL sessions, for our first years, and this is where we train up some of our second year students to work on a weekly session to help mentor the first years. They're well trained, so they don't do coursework for other students, but they help, they give you exercises to help work through some problems that might help you with some of the issues that you're dealing with, or some of the subject content. So you may find it easier to talk to peers about some of the concepts that you're learning about rather than staff, but of course staff are there as well. We have a monthly student staff liaison committee, and we elect some course representatives to bring any issues that you may have to those meetings for staff to deal with. We also have wider help and drop-in support across the university. So we have support for writing, a writing cafe. We have some support for maths and statistics, Sum Up, which can be found in our library building. And of course we have a wellbeing centre and drop-ins to support students with any health issues. That includes physical or mental health issues. And we have online support and counselling services available, and we have disability support as well. So we like to pride ourselves in our student satisfaction for teaching. So I've posted up here some of the recent satisfaction for the nutrition, exercise and health programme. So you can see that 95% we were satisfied overall, and this is in our national student survey, and you can find these results on a website called Discover Uni. If you type that into Google, you can come up with all of the things that are assessed in the National Student Survey, but these are the highlights. So we've got 95% satisfaction, and 100% thought staff were good at explaining things and that the course was intellectually stimulating. If you look at the complete university guide for 2020, you can see that Plymouth, it comes 8th out of 39 courses in the food science subject grouping. So the food science subject grouping includes nutrition and dietetics, and those are both taught at Plymouth. So we're joint here together, 8th out of 39th courses in the UK. This last number that I've put here is a score out of 5 for student satisfaction. So Plymouth scores 4.46 out of 5. And I've put here Leeds and Robert Gordon, who are first and second place in the league tables. And you can see we compare very well with them and some other new universities like Coventry, Hertfordshire and Bournemouth. So moving on then to the structure of the degree and stage 1 or first year, here we cover the main scientific disciplines that you need to know about. So we have modules in physiology, and we have modules in biochemistry, psychology, nutrition, and also food microbiology. So these are the key underlying scientific disciplines that you need to know about. We also have skills teaching, which occurs in the tutorials that I mentioned earlier. So a little bit about scientific writing, some statistics and numeracy, and also scientific investigations. We test our students in various ways. So in the first year we have some lab reports, some essays, oral presentations, practical skills tests, end of module exams, so a whole range of different assessments. Typically speaking, there's 2 assessments per module, and the first year counts to 10% of your final degree classification. So we think it's a good idea to attribute a small weighting to the first year so that students get the best out of their first year and get a really good underlying foundation for moving on to second year. So this is how the modules look. We start you off with just a 4-week intensive module where we do some keynote lectures and some skills practical sessions, and this lasts 4 weeks. So the only thing you do for the first 4 weeks is this intensive module. This one is assessed with a workbook that you complete as you go along and an oral presentation just to your tutor groups. That's just about 10 students. After that 4 weeks, we move on to a physiology module, so human development and structure, and human metabolism, which is the biochemistry. So these are 2 very important foundation modules, and they last 12 weeks. So that takes us up to Christmas for the lectures, and then the assessment is done after Christmas, and there's an exam for each of those. There's also one other assessment attached to those modules. So for the physiology, it's a poster presentation, and for the biochemistry, it's some worksheets. After that, in January, once you finish those exams, you have another short 4-week module that's our psychology module. It's a little bit of a different module, so the lectures are a different style, and you work in groups to do your own investigation. And so it's over in 4 weeks at the end with a group poster presentation, which is you presenting the results of your investigation. Some of the investigations in the past are along the lines of how does caffeine or sleep affect concentration or ability to study, that sort of investigation. So that's during February, and after that in the second semester there's 2 other modules down the bottom here, so infection and immunity and introduction to nutrition. So the blue coloured modules here are taken along with all the other biomedical science students in our school, and the pink one denotes that this module is just taken by the nutrition, exercise and health students. So we do some work here in the food lab, making some products and looking at the nutritional composition, and we do some work looking at your own dietary intake, and we get you to analyse your own diet to look at the nutrition content, so the energy, protein, fat, carbohydrate and vitamin and mineral content, and we look at that and compare to dietary reference values. On the right hand side of this slide, you can see that there's a study skills and personal development module running through, and this is where the tutorials are. So this is where we've got the work in small groups looking at lab reports and presentations and so forth. I've got a typical first year timetable here for a week. We try and keep the timetable as consistent as possible, and there's usually one day per week when there's no lectures. So on this particular example it's Friday, but on other occasions it's Wednesday. There's no lectures on a Wednesday afternoon because this is where students can undertake their own sport or be part of the sports teams here at the university. Usually there's 2-hour lecture blocks with a break in the middle, or practicals that normally last 2 hours as well. So moving on then to the second year, and here we get much more applied in our learning. So we look at how altered disease states can affect nutrition and how nutrition can affect the progress of those disease states. And we do a lot more work on exercise here, so in the nutrition lab and in the exercise physiology lab. We also offer the option to do a professional qualification, a level 3 personal trainer qualification, and this allows students to start this in the second year and complete it during their final year, and then when they graduate they not only have their degree but they also have this professional level 3 personal trainer qualification that may help them to get employment in the exercise industry. There's also the option to take a placement between the second and third year. I'll talk more a little bit about that in a moment. And the second year is worth 30% of the final degree. So these are the modules for the second year. The blue modules here are just for the nutrition, exercise and health students, and the pink ones are also shared with some of our dietetics colleagues. So the top line is the first semester, so there's 3 modules at any one time in the first semester, and the bottom line is the 3 in the second semester. So there's exercise physiology, nutritional science 1 and nutrition and exercise epidemiology happening in semester 1, and then applied exercise science, nutritional science 2, and the psychology of health and well-being in also, that's all in semester 2. And you have a 0 credit placement and employability module running all the way through the year, and this is where we put some extra sessions from our employability and careers colleagues on applying for placements, getting your CV in order, tips and hints for any industry interviews you might have, and we also have our tutorials, our group tutorials and individual tutorials timetabled in this module as well. So in the nutritional science modules we look at nutrition through the life cycle, so through pregnancy through to old age. So the semester 1 is about healthy metabolism and diet through the life cycle, and in semester 2 the nutritional science 2 looks at diabetes, heart disease, osteoporosis, cancer and diet. And then in the final year we have the research project that's in green here. This is 40 credits, so it runs all the way through the year. In the first semester you have 2 other modules. The blue modules are compulsory, so here in the first semester you've got physical activity, nutrition and public health, where we look at some policy surrounding nutrition and public health. So we look at Change for Life, we look at how maybe the sugar tax has affected our eating habits here in the UK. We look at work in schools and so forth. And then the 2 brown ones are optional modules. You choose one of those 2 modules. So you can choose another psychology module if you wish, or you can choose a module that's seminar based, and the students choose the module, the topics that they're interested in, research them and bring them back to discuss in a small group of about 6 students. So it's very much student led and offers you more choice in your programme to follow your own interests. In the second semester, we do sport, so athletic performance, sport and nutrition, and diet, exercise and chronic disease. And we also have the tutorials and preparation for employment 0 credit module running through as well. So a little bit more about the projects. You get to choose in the second year, you get to choose areas that you'd be interested in. So you get to talk to the different advisors and choose an advisor that can support a project that interests you. I've given a few topics here from students who've chosen in the past. So there's some on performance here. So the impact of acute nitrate supplementation on performance. This one would have been with Dr. Bryn Breeze, who's our exercise physiologist. The relationship between vitamin D intake, exercise and depression. That one was a questionnaire based research project that I supported. The one with the nitrate supplementation would have been recruiting participants and working in our exercise physiology lab. Then this one about antioxidants and dried fruit, that was done in the food and nutrition laboratories. And then we've had some projects in the past looking at glycemic response to fruit that has been passed through a NutriBullet processor. These have been quite successful projects, and we've been able to publish some of this in the literature. There's another one here on training, so this one would have been with Bryn again, and then the composition of school dinners and packed lunches. That one would have been undertaken in the community in schools, supported by one of our nutritionists. So here's some pictures of students. There's one of Ross on the left who did some work in schools. He went on to train as a teacher afterwards. And then James on the right preparing fruit in the food laboratory for processing in the NutriBullet. We end our year with a final year project conference, and you can see some students here, Nathan and Becky, presenting the results of their projects. So the year out is possible on this programme, and some students opt to take a year in industry, and we have a great careers team that can help with your search for a industry placement. But we also have students that do short placements. There is work available in and around the university, particularly for students that are undertaking the level 3 personal trainer qualification. Other students take short periods of time out, and the school offers summer bursaries for students to take a 6-week placement with one of our academics to get some research experience, and that's a great way to get some extra research time in preparation for your project. It's great for your CV as well. We offer plenty of extracurricular activities for students to get involved in. So here's some pictures of students with some outreach work with schools in our labs, and also on fundraising activities where we measure people's health status, so BMI or body fat, in exchange for some donations to charity. We have faculty prizes, so here's our last 2 winners for final year, Rachel and Luke. As I mentioned, we have student bursaries for summer projects, and we very much encourage students to present their work at conferences. So this is a picture of Jordan in the middle here with 2 other students, Beth and Wen. Jordan undertook a research project last year and then presented his research at the Student Nutrition Society conference in September of 2019. That's great experience to present your own work, but also great networking as well to meet other students and employers. Here are some of our papers that we've published that have stemmed from student work. So the top one here, measuring sleep duration and plasma glucose values. The second author there, Rachel, was one of our students a couple of years ago. The second one down here, the acute effect of non-nutritive sweeteners and glycemic response. That was undertaken by Luke, who you saw in the picture there, and he's now gone on to do further study. So that paper was published. Also, the one on the right, packed lunches fuel obesity the epidemic. That research was done by two researchers from the University of Plymouth, and they were final year students undertaking their dissertation, and we had that published, but it also caught some media attention as well. And the final one at the bottom there, the nutrient extraction blender preparation. That was done over a couple of years from students. So again, that received some publicity in the newspapers and was published. So what do graduates do? I'd really like to get you to look, there's a link here to our website. We've got some student case studies there that show you the types of careers that the students go into. But many go on to work as lifestyle advisors and nutritionists in public health or within industry. Some go on to study for higher degrees, such as for dietetics or physiotherapy or other more specialist public health degrees. I also recommend that you look at the Association for Nutrition website, and that gives some ideas of the careers for nutritionists as well. So this is the Association for Nutrition web page. And nutritionists work in all sorts of different areas, and I've put some together that are coming on screen now. So weight loss management is an area that's very important. Food industry. And then with companies that provide school meals or meals on wheels or other types of food provision. Okay, and these are my contact details, so if you've got any questions after listening to the presentation, please do email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much for listening, and please get in touch if we can help you with anything further.